a tower that will rise higher than the Statue of Liberty, not as a monument to freedom, but as the world's tallest jail. This is a $2 billion gamble that's tearing apart one of the city's most historic neighborhoods.
Desperate calls from the community to stop construction of a brand new jail.
This is a real assault on our community.
A rally today in Chinatown to stop the construction of a jail there.
No more jail.
Welcome to Manhattan's Chinatown, where a 40-story vertical prison is about to transform not just the neighborhood, but the entire concept of incarceration in America's largest city. This is how New York's infamous Rikers Island crisis led to an architectural solution that nobody saw coming, and why it might be the city's most controversial building project in decades. Don't forget to show your support by giving this video a like and subscribe to the channel. Together, we can continue creating amazing content. In the world of architectural megaprojects, few developments have generated as much controversy as New York City's ambitious plan to revolutionize its correctional system. At the center of this storm is a $2 billion skyscraper jail in Manhattan's Chinatown, set to rise higher than Lady Liberty herself. The story begins with a crisis. For decades, New York's infamous Rikers Island has been a symbol of everything wrong with America's jail system. Housing around 6,000 inmates across 11 facilities, Rikers has become synonymous with violence, abuse, and systemic failure. In 2023 alone, 18 people died within its walls, leading to a situation so dire that the Department of Corrections stopped announcing inmate deaths altogether. This humanitarian crisis demanded action, and in 2017, after years of activism and citywide outrage,
Enough is enough! Enough is enough!
New York made a promise that seemed almost impossible: close Rikers Island completely by 2027. The catch? Those 6,000 inmates needed somewhere to go. Enter the borough-based jails program, a radical plan to replace one massive jail complex with 4 smaller, more humane facilities spread across the city. But you can't just shut down the city's largest jail without creating alternatives. That's where the borough-based jail system comes in, a network of 4 new facilities spread across Manhattan, Brooklyn, Queens, and the Bronx. And what's at the center of this ambitious plan? A vertical jail in the heart of Manhattan's Chinatown that would redefine what a correctional facility could be. The site chosen wasn't random. It's the location of the infamous Manhattan Detention Complex, known grimly as the Tombs. When Charles Dickens visited in the 1800s, he described it as a place that would bring disgrace upon the most despotic empire in the world. Now, this historic site is set to become home to something unprecedented: a 40-story vertical jail housing 886 inmates. The price tag? A staggering $2 billion. The tower will rise to 295 feet, with additional mechanical equipment potentially pushing its height to 350 feet. That's taller than any correctional facility ever built. In fact, the current record holder, the Metropolitan Correctional Center in Chicago, stands at 288 feet. So this new complex will swallow an entire city block, including White Street, which will be transformed into a pedestrian gallery. At ground level, 20,000 square feet of space will be dedicated to retail and community projects, a gesture of integration that many locals view with skepticism. But building a vertical jail isn't as simple as stacking cells toward the sky. How do you create secure outdoor recreation spaces hundreds of feet in the air? How do you manage emergency evacuations from the upper floors? How do you prevent the building from becoming an oppressive shadow over a historic neighborhood? The very concept challenges fundamental principles of correctional facility design. Traditional jails are built horizontally for good reasons. They need features like perimeter walls, guard towers, and exercise yards, elements that become problematic or impossible in a vertical structure. Even basic security becomes more complicated when you're dealing with elevators instead of corridors. The design challenges are particularly fascinating. Consider the influential panopticon design, created by English philosopher Jeremy Bentham. This circular prison layout, with a central guard tower, allows a small number of guards to monitor many inmates effectively. Modern jails often recreate this by arranging cell blocks that radiate from a central guard post. But how do you maintain this crucial surveillance capability in a skyscraper? Then there's the elevator problem. In a traditional jail, moving inmates between different areas is relatively straightforward. In a high-rise, every movement requires elevator access. creating potential security risks and bottlenecks. Just imagine the complexity of managing hundreds of daily movements for court appearances, medical visits, and family visitations, all dependent on elevator systems that could fail or become security vulnerabilities. Architects have attempted to address these challenges through innovative design solutions. Taking cues from Chicago's Metropolitan Correctional Center, the facility will group inmates in smaller units spread across multiple floors, with common areas and programming spaces integrated throughout the structure. The building's design aims to maximize natural light and provide better conditions than the notorious Rikers Island. But critics question whether any high-rise can truly provide a humane environment for incarceration. Meanwhile, the demolition of the old Tombs facilities already caused problems. Community groups report excessive dust affecting the health of elderly residents, and there's concerns about the stability of surrounding buildings, many of which are over a century old. The site itself presents unique challenges. It was originally a pond, making the ground unstable for such a massive structure. For all these reasons, the project's budget has nearly doubled since its initial proposal, raising questions about the city's ability to deliver on its promises of a state-of-the-art facility that would serve as a model for human-centered correctional design. The city's decision to use a design-build contract, where efficiency often takes precedence over design quality, has only intensified these concerns. And the 2027 deadline for closing Rikers is enshrined in law. But with delays mounting and costs spiraling, that target looks increasingly unrealistic. But the real story isn't in the building specs or the budget numbers, it's in the streets below, where Chinatown's residents are fighting back against what they see as an existential threat to their community. This is a neighborhood that survived 9/11, that weathered economic crises, and that's managed to preserve its cultural identity despite decades of gentrification. Now, they're facing what might be their biggest challenge yet. And that's why Chinatown residents, led by groups like Neighbors United Below Canal, have been fighting the project tooth and nail. Their concerns go beyond the typical "not in my backyard" arguments. This is a neighborhood of predominantly family-owned businesses, many operating for generations in buildings that are over a century old. The construction process alone could take 7 to 10 years, threatening these fragile historic structures and the community's economic survival. Yet, the city's pitch is ambitious. This won't be just another jail. They're promising a civic architecture that will include community spaces, retail areas, and even art studios. The idea is to integrate the facility into the neighborhood rather than wall it off. But for many residents, these promises ring hollow. They've seen similar promises broken before, and they're skeptical of a plan that puts a massive jail at the center of their community's future. And can a skyscraper jail ever be truly humane? The city promises better conditions than Rikers, more natural light, improved visiting facilities, better medical care, but some critics might be right. Stacking inmates in a high-rise creates new problems while solving old ones. As construction moves forward, or tries to, the debate intensifies. Supporters see it as a necessary step toward closing Rikers and reforming New York's criminal justice system. Opponents view it as a massive mistake that will forever alter the character of a historic neighborhood. Both sides agree on one thing: there's no going back once this tower rises. The stakes couldn't be higher. If successful, this project could revolutionize urban correctional facilities and provide a model for other cities grappling with aging jail infrastructure. If it fails, it risks becoming a billion-dollar monument to misguided reform efforts and a permanent scar on one of New York's most vibrant communities. The next few years will determine whether this controversial addition to New York's skyline becomes a symbol of progressive reform or a cautionary tale about the limits of vertical ambition. One thing is certain: when people gaze upon Manhattan's famous skyline in the future, they'll be looking at more than just office towers and luxury apartments. They'll be seeing the world's tallest jail, a testament to New York's ongoing struggle to balance justice, urban development, and community needs in the vertical city. But for now, keep an eye on Visionary, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you'll be the first to know when it's all set. Until next time,